Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark Weather. It's great to have you on the channel today. We're going to be starting off with the tropics. We got a lot of tropical moisture and tropical wave activity, especially as we head throughout the first week of May here. We could be looking at a big tropical wave stretching from the southern part of the Caribbean up into the eastern, northeastern Caribbean region. And on Monday into Monday night, we're going to be looking at a severe weather outbreak that could be tremendous across the upper Midwest and northern plains. And we're also going to be looking at numerous severe weather outbreaks as we stretch through the middle part of May. Let's get into it. As we take a look at the tropics here, I'll show you the GFS and then the European model momentarily, and we'll go over those rainfall amounts. Now watch as we go through the new week here. It starts off kind of dry. We have this little feature up northeast of the Caribbean islands. Also some showers around Dominican Republic, scattered showers off and on through Jamaica as well. This little feature down here, we're going to be watching through the entire forecast period coming off Colombia, Panama, and eventually Costa Rica here. So there's tremendous tropical moisture bottled up around this region. Now, as we head through midweek here, right around the 30th, we're going to start to see this boundary. You can see high pressure anchored off the U.S. East Coast, just west of Bermuda area here. In this time frame, we have this boundary right up across the north central part of the Caribbean. Also some clouds and a few scattered showers through the Bahamas as well. Now, watch this. Right around the 30th, we start to see this moisture from Central America and the Eastern Pacific start to funnel up through the eastern part of the Caribbean. This is where we're going to see some shower and thunderstorm activity. Guadeloupe, Antigua, and Barbuda here. This is the area we're going to see those showers continuing to develop through late next week. We see this boundary moving through. It does get a little bit drier throughout this region. Now, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Jamaica remains with scattered showers through next weekend. And as we stretch through that full first week here of May, this is what we're going to be looking at. It starts off a little bit quiet until around May 4th. We start to get more scattered shower and thunderstorm activity. Look at this little feature just off the coast, east coast of Florida into the northern Bahamas. This is the tail end of a front. We do have to watch this kind of stuff this time of year. This is where we can have spin-ups. We also going to be watching an area of low pressure. This is also showing up here on the European. I'll show you momentarily through May 5th into the 6th. And we start to get some flare-up of more showers and thunderstorms. We have this boundary to the north. And look at this deep tropical moisture flowing northward right around the 5th through Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. Yeah, this is going to mean business as it stretches north and eastward. This is the tropical wave that I was telling you about. This looks big. So this is something that's going to need to be watched as we head throughout that first full week of May. Look at this. This is a lot of moisture heading right up through South America into Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, especially St. Martin area, and then Dominican Republic as well. Look at this. This could be tremendous rainfall, especially for this time of year. This is almost unprecedented, but look at this. Is this any indication of what the hurricane season is going to be like? Because if it is, I think we're going to have an early start to the hurricane season here. We also have some scattered showers here through Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, the Bahamas in particular as well, but nothing like the Eastern Caribbean here. We're going to watch this through May 8th. It may try to develop into something subtropical here. Look at this. We're stuck with this through May 9th here, the last frame showing a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity. Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, Barbados, St. Lucia here. We're going to be watching lots of tropical moisture. And look at here, right around Florida, a little bit of a few interesting features as well. All right, so for the European run here, comparing it to our GFS run, let's get that out of the way. As we continue through time here, those showers and thunderstorms continuing across the northern part of the Caribbean, Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, northern Lesser Antilles, even the central Lesser Antilles getting into it on Monday morning. This feature we'll continue to watch. This looks pretty interesting. We're also going to have this little feature on the tail end of this frontal boundary that we'll continue to watch through Monday and Tuesday. All the way through this region, we're going to be watching this area of low pressure. This is a big tropical wave coming off the coast of the north coast of Central America. We're also watching us socked in with shower activity across the parts of the western and north central and northeastern Caribbean islands here. So watch out this high pressure. Really reminiscent of a summertime high off the U.S. East Coast. That's going to remain entrenched. That's going to keep this moist pattern, this moist flow continuing through this region. But look at here across the southern part of the Caribbean. This looks very ominous. Very, very ominous. Of course, sea surface temperatures running above average, as I'll show you momentarily here. But look at this as we continue through Wednesday, April 30th. Those showers, you can see this boundary, this area where tropical moisture will just continue to funnel and plume throughout this area. Now, May 1st into May 2nd, we're not looking at a change. You can see here, lots of moisture just bottled up across the Caribbean islands here. We'll continue to watch it because shower and thunderstorm activity remains pretty entrenched across the island of Hispaniola here. And then look at here through Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and then eventually Honduras as we head through May 2nd into 3rd. We're continuing to watch this tropical wave just kind of camp out across this area. Shower and thunderstorm action across the central and northern Lesser Antilles. And look at that. May 4th here. We're continuing to see this heavy tropical moisture just continuing. So this is a very active weather pattern as we continue across the Caribbean. Is this any indication of what we're going to be seeing this hurricane season? By the way, I am working on getting out the last final touches on my Hurricane 2025 outlook. So watch for that. Look at this. May 6th. This is just crazy. Even up through, let's get that out of the way, through the southern Bahamas, South Florida, all the way down through parts of the Caribbean. We're just socked in here. Look at this. This is that ominous feature I wanted to talk to you about. May 7th here. This is quite disturbing this early in the season. This is something we'll need to watch because it's kind of just pulling here to the northeast, but lots of moisture with it. And look at here down through Venezuela. Tremendous moisture. This looks like a pretty ominous tropical wave. Look at this feature out here by Bermuda. This is also something that will need to be watched. Could this be going subtropical? It's quite possible. I think we're going to have an early start to this hurricane season. But look at this. As we head through May 9th into the 10th, this is where we start to push this moisture throughout Central America, Honduras, northern part of Nicaragua, southern Belize. Watch out. Heavy rain starting to continue here. And then the Eastern Caribbean, we're just socked in through May 10th and the 11th. It's crazy that we have this much to talk about across the Western Atlantic and the Caribbean here through May 12th. This is the last frame. Look at this. There's that boundary just continuing to be camped out across the North Central Caribbean. And look at those sea surface temperature analysis. You can see, yeah, we've got a cool pool of water out here towards the Cape Verde Islands. But look at here, Gulf. The Caribbean's warming back up through parts of the North and Central Atlantic. We're looking well above average, still about 1 to as much as 2.5 degrees above average. And I wanted to show you the GFS here for liquid equivalent precipitation amounts through mid-May, May 13th here. You can see the trouble spot. It's mainly going to be across Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, these areas. A little bit lesser amounts here into Central America, 45 to 90 millimeters, locally higher to 100 millimeters potentially. But look here across Jamaica, this is where we're looking at 70 to 90 millimeters on average, especially the northern part of the island here. Look at this bullseye, 250, 260 millimeters here, the highlands of Central Dominican Republic. So watch out. Averaging out, though, to around 90 to 100 millimeters. And then we're going to talk about Puerto Rico here momentarily. And taking a look at the European model here, we can see Central America, for the most part, remaining dry through this week. That's some good news. Although eastern coastline of Nicaragua here, Honduras, you could see 45 to 90 millimeters. Jamaica, a little bit drier of a week. Dominican Republic, yeah, we're still looking at some heavier showers. But watch this as we stretch through the first full week of May into around May 12th. This is where things start to get cranking again. Jamaica averaging out to about 50 to 70, 90 millimeters here, especially in the northeast part of the island here near Portland Parish. And then look at Dominican Republic. We're averaging 90 to 120 plus millimeters here. It's looking pretty wet continuing. And look at here, Southern Caribbean. This is with that potential tropical wave. We're going to watch moisture surging well in excess of 200 millimeters. And here we go for the Eastern Caribbean. This is where things really moisten up as we head through the central to latter part of this week. Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Dominican Republic. These areas going to see 45 to about 70 millimeters. And then watch this as we head right around May 7th, 8th, all the way through the 13th. Look at this feature. Eastern Caribbean, especially the Central Lesser Antilles, Trinidad and Tobago, I think you'll eke out about 50 to 70 millimeters out of this. But look at this. This is that train of tropical moisture that's going to be surging with that area of low pressure. Look at parts of Puerto Rico. You could be seeing 3 to 5 inches of rain. This is right around 160 millimeters. Dominican Republic, yes, as we talked about there in the previous frame, you're going to see 90 to 150 millimeters. And look at the Lesser Antilles here, especially the central northern Lesser Antilles. These areas could see well over 100 to 150 millimeters of rainfall. Severe weather threat running very elevated for your Monday, especially Monday all the way through Monday night. We're looking at a moderate risk here across Iowa, southern Minnesota, western Wisconsin, enhanced risk here in the orange as well, slight risk into the yellow. It is going to be a very active day. Tornado threat also running very high in this region. And as we extend into Tuesday, all the way from the northern part of Texas, all the way up the upper Mississippi and Ohio River Valley into parts of the Northeast, we are looking at a slight risk of severe thunderstorms in this yellow zone, all the way through Ohio, northwest and northern Pennsylvania, upstate New York, down and through parts of the Ohio River Valley, stretching through Oklahoma and Texas. Watch out. It's going to be a busy day as well. And as we stretch on into the day on Wednesday, severe weather threat diving across north central, northeastern Texas, Dallas area. So starting off with our future radar here for your North American forecast. Look at this. As we stretch through the evening hours, you can see where the storms are going to lie. Some scattered showers across the southeast. Also, some storms starting here with this front coming out of the Rocky Mountains. And as we continue through early Monday morning, this is where things are really going to get cranking across the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa. These linear line segments as we head through 8, 9 a.m., that pushes into Wisconsin, but we're going to look for a renewed threat. Watch this. There's some storms across north central Florida into southern Alabama and Georgia, but this is going to be the big storm system that moves across the upper plains. We're watching this area in particular as we get up throughout the upper Midwest here. And then as we stretch through the 11 p.m. hours, it looks like it's going to go a nocturnal threat, tornado threat running high across this region as we get, that turning of winds with height here. So watch out. We're going to be watching those linear segments move to the east here. And then as we stretch through the 29th at 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning, look at this. We're going to watch for a renewed threat of shower and thunderstorm activity pushing to the east. This area also is going to be under the gun for serious severe thunderstorm outbreaks here as we stretch through late Tuesday afternoon into the evening hours, especially converging across northern Kentucky, Indiana, and stretching up through parts of Cleveland, north central part of Ohio here, even some stray cells making their way into north central Pennsylvania and upstate New York as we head through 8 p.m. on Tuesday evening. I wanted to show you briefly here on the HRRR Future Radar as we head Monday evening. Look at this. Actually, this is Monday morning. We actually get started pretty early with the severe weather across Minnesota, the eastern Dakotas. Watch out, clusters of storms moving northeast. And as we stretch through the evening hours, high risk. Look at this, Minneapolis, Sioux Falls. These areas could be seeing some tremendous damaging wind, large hail, and tornado threat into Wisconsin, turning into a nocturnal threat. And that storm threat pushes to the east, 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Significant tornado parameter here. Yeah, as we stretch through Sunday evening, look at this. This is off the chart across parts of the western plains here, western Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska. Now watch as we head throughout the day on Monday through 4 p.m., 5 p.m. This is the area that's very concerning. It's going to be a little bit harder to get storms to fire further south here, but a lot of the dynamics here in Iowa, parts of southern and southeastern Minnesota, Wisconsin support a very big tornado threat here with these significant tornado parameters in excess of like 3, 4, and even some 5s here. And then as we stretch through the overnight hours into Tuesday, that tornado threat, southeastern parts of Michigan, Tuesday afternoon and evening, some areas even here into the yellow could be approaching these elevated areas for tornado development here, 2 to 3 on the scale here. So we're going to watch out for Tuesday. We could see some spin-ups as well with any of these stronger cells that do develop. All right, so picking up where our future radar left off with our GFS model, and then I'll show you the European model momentarily. You can see as we stretch through Tuesday here, we're going to see a flare-up of those showers and thunderstorms potentially damaging wind, large hail threat in this region right here, especially the later afternoon, evening hours. And we watch that as we head on into Wednesday. An area of low pressure starts to move along it with another severe weather outbreak across the Mississippi River Valley as we stretch later Wednesday into Thursday. You see the rainfall moving into the northeast. Another renewed threat as we head on into May 1st here. Maybe some linear line segments of convective showers and thunderstorms. Maybe a few damaging wind, large hail cells developing here. And then as we stretch on into May 2nd into the 3rd, as we get on into the weekend time frame here, you can see the East Coast. As usual, it's the weekend. An area of low pressure is riding along it, but this is some beneficial rain. This is going to help the wildfire situation tremendously here. High pressure building in, you guessed it, right in time for early next week. The new work week to start here. And as we stretch through May 4th into the 5th, you see that high pressure really anchored tight here. With the exception, we got this ring of fire pattern setting up here. So we're going to push this moisture into the plains, strong to severe thunderstorms, and then we're going to have low pressure impulses dive south and eastward here. And watch out, we could have some of these try to spin up into some coastal type segments here into parts of the mid-Atlantic and the northeast. You see how this is moving just due south here. And then this next system, May 7th into the 8th, another severe weather outbreak. Look at this though. These are like low pressure systems dancing around each other around the U.S. East Coast here and New England. So this is going to kind of wrap up here May 8th. It could get rather interesting and also provide some beneficial rain in this region. All right, so for the European model here, picking up where our future radar left off and comparing it also to our GFS model. You know, it's quiet throughout most of the east as we head into Monday, but watch out. This is where things really get cranking. Eventually, obviously, I showed you this on the future radar. That's going to be pinwheeling across the upper Midwest, northern plains, and then eventually stretching eastward here as we head on Tuesday. This is where things really get bad across this region, so watch out. Showers and thunderstorms lining up here into Tuesday afternoon. You see these linear segments across western New York, western Pennsylvania, Ohio, all the way down to north central Texas. This high pressure really holding tough across the southeast. And as you can see, as we continue through Wednesday into Thursday, this severe thunderstorm threat really continues in this region, bubbling up across much of the southern plains and the deep south, and then stretching up a more generalized rain throughout parts of the Midwest into the northeast. Eventually, for later Thursday into Friday, we may have some convective elements as we head into Ohio, western New York, western Pennsylvania, Indiana region. So watch out. Could have a stray severe storm or two here. This system moving through Friday afternoon, you can see there is some convective elements up here. So watch out. There could be some damaging wind, large hail threat. But for the most part, it looks like a generalized shower event through this forecast period. And then as we continue here on the European model, longer term, you can see there is obviously a trough camped out across the lakes, the northeast and eastern Canada here. That's going to continue. High pressure does build in, but temperatures are going to expect it to be cooler than average here. Obviously, as we get into May here, so this was expected. As we stretch through Tuesday, May 6th, watch the next severe weather outbreak across the southern plains, also around the edges here. Essentially, this is kind of the ring of fire where it's setting up. You get this high pressure across the southeast, and that's where we're going to continue to watch these systems try to go coastal off the northeast and mid-Atlantic coast through May 8th here. That pulls out to sea. And then the next system, it almost looks like these are little Alberta clippers, but it's too warm for Alberta clippers. Showers and thunderstorm action here onto May 10th. We'll continue to watch it here as these storm systems try to go coastal once again. Strange rain-snow mix on the backside here in the highlands of western New York. We'll have to watch that as this system goes coastal 986 millibar low into the Gulf of Maine by May 12th. The winds are going to be the big story too, especially as we stretch through the rest of your Sunday here into parts of the Northeast. We're going to be looking at those winds, especially across the ridge tops. Look at this, just howling 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts. Poconos, Catskills, eastern New York, much of New Jersey into New England. Thankfully, this does slacken off quite a bit. The next big wind event here as we stretch Tuesday into the upper Midwest and then expanding westward Wednesday. So watch out. We could have some gusts 20 to 30 miles an hour, locally higher 40 to 50 miles an hour here in northern New England. As we stretch later on in the week, we see another big wind event Thursday night into Friday. Look at this, some gusts up to 40 and maybe 50 miles an hour. finally getting calmer for Saturday morning, although still 20 to 30 miles an hour on the backside of the storm system, kind of calming for Sunday. And looking at our liquid equivalent precipitation amounts here, look at this. Through this week, you can see where the big storminess is going to be. This takes us all the way through Friday, May 9th here, and then a little bit beyond, you can see, look at this. So Southern Plains, Ohio Valley, even into the Northeast, we'll see some beneficial rains here. This area is very concerning, north central Texas. Many areas approaching 8 to 10 inches, and then a generalized 2 to 4 inch all the way through the upper Mississippi and Ohio River valleys, Great Lakes, Midwest, obviously with these damaging wind, large hail, tornado threats. And looking at our GFS model here, a similar picture through this week. Let's just stop it through next Friday night into Saturday. Here is the trouble spot. It's pretty obvious. The Southern Plains all the way up into parts of the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, and then a secondary area up here into the upper Midwest. So yeah, looking at 1 to 3 inches locally higher, 2 to 5 inches here across the Southern Plains. And then as we continue, watch this, all the way through May 13th here. Let's just back this up. This is where we're going to see, continued severe weather across the central and southern plains, but watch the East Coast here. Coastal low action. GFS really showing an explosion of coastal lows as we head through the middle of the month. This could 4 to 6 inch amounts here in parts of the Northeast. And before we continue with more weather coverage, don't forget, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe, bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates, especially as we head into this busy hurricane season, which I'm about to release my Hurricane 2025 outlook in the next couple days. Let's continue. And Eric Rentschler from Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. A nice sunset tonight over Lebanon Valley College, Lebanon, PA. Look at this, April 24th, the evening of April 24th, a very beautiful sunset across the area. Look at those deep oranges and reds in the background. Nice captures there, Derek. Nothing like a good sunset to end a good day. And looking at our upper air pattern here, that ridge remains entrenched through midweek across the east. Now watch this as we stretch through the latter part of the week into next weekend. We get a trough pivoting along the east coast, so cooler temperatures and stormier conditions will ensue. And then, of course, as we stretch through the new week, May 5th into the 6th, we do try to get some building of this ridge, although look at this trough kind of backtracking along the east coast. So stormy times are ahead, also cooler times along the U.S. East Coast, especially the mid-Atlantic into the northeast. As we continue through the middle part of the month, you can see this troughiness really starting to dig. This is like a negatively tilted trough. We're going to start getting these coastal lows bomb out along the U.S. East Coast. And looking at our MJO index, things are going to remain active here as we're right in this area of phase 7. We're going to bounce around between 6, 7, and 8. Very, very active weather pattern throughout eastern North America and the western Atlantic as we continue through the middle part of May. And looking at our Canadian weather outlook as we continue through the week here, you can see the rain snow line all the way up to Hudson Bay here. Another Pacific system blasting into British Columbia here, mountain snow, valley rain. And back east here across southeast Canada, this is where the big action is going to be. You can see that rain snow line up across central and northeastern Ontario, extreme northern Quebec. That kind of pivots to the southeast here, but mostly rain showers across southern Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland here. So look at this as we stretch through time. You get this storm bombing through the Canadian Maritimes here, snow on the backside of it. Next system kind of congealing from the United States into the southern Ontario. Heavy rain moving through southern Ontario and Quebec as we head through May 2nd here. So stormy weather pattern, these systems diving throughout southeast Canada. Look at the central prairie region, though. Very, very dry. Very void of any major moisture. Maybe some wet snowflakes here. May 3rd on the backside of this low pressure system that was blasting off the U.S. East Coast, Northeast Coast. And then we get another system diving across southern parts of central Ontario here. More snow here into the mountains of western British Columbia as a Pacific system moves in. And our last frame here, May 6th, features some rain showers across southern Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and eventually Quebec here. And looking for Canada here, liquid equivalent precipitation amounts here. As we continue through time, through this week, you can see most of it's in southeast Canada and the extreme west coast of British Columbia. And as we continue all the way through mid-May here, this is where we're going to see southeast Canada, southeastern Quebec, northern New Brunswick. These areas are going to be getting well over 100 to 150 millimeters of rainfall. This is where the storm system track is really going to lie across southeast Canada. And looking at snowfall amounts here, yeah, we're still going to be talking about some snow. It's mainly confined up into central Ontario, central and northern Quebec, western coast here, British Columbia, the mountains. So here it is, a little bit maybe into southeastern parts of Quebec here, but these areas could see 5 to 15 centimeters on average, locally higher to 20 centimeters here into the dark purples. And taking a look at our temperature-wise, that is going to be a huge story. Look at the 70s and 80s across the east as we head into Monday and into Tuesday. Look at that. Most of Ohio, most of Pennsylvania into the 80s, all the way down to the Gulf Coast. So warm times. Look at, we do have a cold pool of air up here across the upper Midwest, 50s and even some 60s pushing eastward here. And as we head throughout Wednesday, you can see, yeah, we get that cooler shot of air up here, 50s and 60s across the lakes. And much of the deep south, 80s, mid to upper 80s throughout portions of interior North Carolina and South Carolina and Virginia, and that just continues to build. Look at some of these readings, could be approaching 90 degrees up here into parts of the Carolinas and Virginia, and warming across the Ohio Valley into the northeast. And as we stretch on into Friday, you see the cooler air does remain kind of camped out here across the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and in northern New England, where you'll see some 50s and some 60s, but 70s here across the mid-Atlantic, looking really nice into your Saturday next weekend. You can see, yeah, the cooler air is kind of camped out here across the Great Lakes region. Extended forecast from hometown viewers, we're going to just Grand Super Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. So we stretch through Monday through Friday here, starting off really nice after a terrible weekend. Sunny mid-70s for Monday into Tuesday. There's a chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms Tuesday. Watch out. There could be damaging wind, large hail, particularly after 4 p.m. Chance of storms after 2 p.m. So watch out. Afternoon and evening hours could get pretty bad into Tuesday night. Wednesday, we clear out nice sunny skies, mid to upper 60s into Thursday, near 70. And then Thursday night and Friday, the next storm system moves in. This one will just be a generalized shower event. And before we continue with more weather coverage, check out these amazing, awesome maps from my affiliate here.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget, it's MeteoMark.com. And don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.